The City of Neenah is pleased to provide video recordings of City Council meetings. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents from the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited. The Neenah Police Department is scheduled for an on-site assessment as part of a program to achieve accreditation by verifying it meets professional standards. Administered by the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group, WILIAG, the accreditation program requires agencies to comply with state-of-the-art standards in 4 basic areas: policy and procedures, administration, operations, and support services. As part of the on-site assessment, agency employees and members of the community are invited to offer comments by phone 920-886-6029 on December 4th, 2024, between the hours of 1 and 3 p.m. Comments will be taken by the WILIAG assessment team assigned to conduct this assessment. Telephone comments are limited to 10 minutes and must address the agency's ability to comply with WILIAG standards. A copy of the standards is available at the Neenah Police Department. Local contact is Sergeant Robert Ross, 920-886-6000. Anyone wishing to submit written comments about the Neenah Police Department's ability to comply with the standards for accreditation may send them to the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group at the following address: WILIAG, Post Office Box 528, Heartland, Wisconsin 53029. The email address is executive.director@williag.info.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Neenah Special Common Council meeting and budget public hearing meeting for November 19th, 2024. The first item on the agenda is the roll call. Please indicate your presence on your roll call device, and the clerk will also call the roll.
Alderman Boyette is excused. Alderman Erickson.
Here.
Hillstrom.
Here.
Lundrum.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Paulnow.
Here.
Steiner.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Council President Borchard.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Weber will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Small Business Saturday, November 30th, 2024. That is included in your packet and will be posted on social media. I just have to say that we truly appreciate all of our small businesses in Neenah. The next item, introduction and confirmation of mayor's appointments. There are none. The next item, approval of the council proceedings, council minutes and proceedings of November 6, 2024. Regular session, the annual security training of November 6th, the approval of the committee of the whole of November 11th, and November 12th. Both of those were budget workshops. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of the approval of those council proceedings? Seeing none, those are approved. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing for consideration of a special use permit to construct a gasoline station located at 1115 South Commercial Street. I will open that public hearing. If there's anyone here who would like to speak during the public hearing, this is your opportunity to do so. You have 5 minutes to speak regarding the special use permit to construct a gasoline station. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ahmed Palgal. This is my application to build a gas station at 1115 South Commercial Street. I also own a next lot, 1117 South Commercial. My basic application is I want to build a gas station standalone with 4 pumps, 3 tanks, 2 EV charger, and canopy. And there is have any convenience store, no car wash, no parking. So it's very, very simple procedure for that. And it not required huge parking, huge lot, because we don't have any issue with the parking, we don't issue with the convenience store, we don't have issue with the with the car wash. So my application basically is only for standalone gas station. So in this one, so there is issue what I'm saying, within Neenah last probably 4 or 5 years, almost everybody in the Neenah is hurt by the high gas price. Always have a question many times on the Facebook, local social media, people question why we have a 25-cent gas price high than the Appleton or Menasha. Even today at my store, somebody was questioning me. He said, do we have a higher city tax? I answered no. Tax only state or federal always come with the gas. So people have a lots of misunderstanding. So my question is what I'm saying, when one gas station, one company, big company on Greenway Road, they set up gas price, every other gas station follow them. But in this chamber, I promise everybody, I will not follow that way. I will follow Appleton College Avenue price. So this is in benefit of every resident in Neenah. And since last week, it come in the media, local newspaper, somebody put also on the Facebook, many times people forward, lots of people question. So it's become a talk almost every household. So lots of people question me about that one. So my answer is only one thing. I want to bring down the gas price as compared to Menasha and Appleton. And it's possible. People who do business in Appleton, people do business in Menasha, they also make money. Doesn't mean I will not make any money. There will still some money there, but not a huge money, not huge markup. Lots of time on social media, people explain what they feel. Some people use language robbery. Fair business is good, but not a monopoly. I promise everybody what I'm saying, I will not follow other people. I will follow what gas price will be there. And it will not be required, what I'm saying, half-acre land to build only standalone gas station. We don't need half-acre land. As whatever say like 2019, that time council, they may have a very good idea why they set up this one. Time to time, when we go through last 4 or 5 years, I myself never pumped gas in Neenah last 5 years. Mostly in Appleton, if I go Milwaukee, Chicago, I stop at Fond du Lac. Every time it takes me 20, 25 minutes more to off the highway. So basically for standalone gas station, I request to council, have a little bit amendment in the code. Just add up standalone 0.25 acre which is good enough. It will help everybody. Standalone don't need half-acre land. If 0.25 acre, if add up in the code for standalone, it serve purpose of whole Neenah. For me, I can build a gas station, I can serve the people. Basically, I do have my consultant. He do have a drawing how it will work out. Any question, we can answer it. Any alderman have a question, we can answer, we can explain it. So I do have a consultant, and he does have a very long experience building a gas station. I do have a company, US Oil. They come there, they say you have more than enough room. I do have another company, so Energy Tech. Mostly two company building gas stations. They say you have enough, more than enough room. But only need help from the council to make an amendment in the code. Instead of completely say 0.5 acre, you need to have amendment, have a add up little language, only a couple of words. So standalone 0.25 acre. It will serve everybody. So I will help everybody, that's not a problem. If everything go through, probably construction can start after snow, maybe in the May. I have a consultant, he will say something, he never dug, so he have a life experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and your residential address. I'm sorry, I forgot to state that before.
My name is Doug Manti. My address is 2308 Haysacker Court, Kaukauna, Wisconsin. I've been in the petroleum, or was in the petroleum equipment business for 30 years. I retired 2.5 years ago, and now I do monthly gas station inspections for 40 different convenience stores throughout northeast Wisconsin. Does the drawing, is there a trick to turning this on?
Oh, can someone
Does this not work?
who can help him?
It doesn't work.
It's not working? Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Why is it, is the bulb
Mr.
burning
Gill,
or something?
Pretty much expressed my first point regarding not a need for a half an acre. The canopy will be 52 feet square. The columns underneath the canopy will be 22 by 26 feet. So basically, as far as ground space goes, we're putting up a 22 by 26 foot building. The industry has deemed this as a standalone fueling location. There was a question as far as transport, getting a transport in and out of the location. When we were at the meeting last Tuesday, I had submitted a drawing that showed the transport entering the site on Langley Boulevard and exiting on South Commercial Street. That'd be through the parking lot of Gill Liquor. I had dropped that plan off, but for one reason or another, that plan was not at the meeting last week. So that, let's see, moving on from there, we have a concern about the pricing being so low that it would up the traffic stop in that area by 1,300 vehicles a day. This is highly unlikely because when Mr. Gill opens for business with Appleton gas prices, his competitors, there's 11 other gas stations in Neenah, will all drop their price to compete with Mr. Gill. As long as he remains at the 6% minimum markup, there's not a problem with that. Currently, Quick Trip, BP, ExxonMobil, Shell, Marathon, they all have reward programs. This is the reason I'm saying that 1,300 cars a day is very, very unlikely. These programs also have Festival Foods working with Quick Trip. You buy food at Festival Foods and you get cents off gallons at Quick Trip. The same with Piggly Wiggly and whatever store they choose for Pig Points. And then there's, get my glasses here. Piggly Wiggly, and then BP is tied in with Pick and Save. So feel that with these 3 points that were denied by the committee last week, hope that this clears up some of the questions regarding this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public hearing considering the special use permit to construct a gasoline station at 1115 South Commercial Street? Anyone else who would like to speak regarding that? Anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing no one on that item, I will close the public hearing. Excuse me, and move on to the Plan Commission report pertaining to the public hearing, and I'll turn that over to Alderman Steiner.
Thank you, Mayor. The Plan Commission meeting was held on November 12th, 2024. Minutes can be found on the city website. I'm just going to go slightly off script just a little bit, just because this is an unusually worded item. So at the Planning Commission, the vote was to deny the special use permit for a gasoline station located at 115 South Commercial Street, as the subject property does not meet the minimum lot size or gasoline stations per the zoning code. There is a minimum lot size of 0.5 acres required, and the subject property is 0.29 acres in size. I'm not in favor of issuing this special use permit. I'm in favor of the denial for it, but to get this on the table for consideration of the council so that there's an opportunity to discuss and consider the issue, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Here's a motion by Alderman Ellis and seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Discussion on this item. Alderman Paulno.
Thank you. I just have one question. As I was at the Plan Commission, and it was, I think it was Assistant Director Schmidt had said that this code that requires a 0.5 acre lot was approved in 2019, if I remember correctly. I was curious as to what propagated that change and what was the lot size previously. So I don't know if that would be Director Hayes or Assistant Director Schmidt to answer that.
So you are correct. The code was changed in 2019. As with all special uses in our zoning code, there are minimum standards. Some of them have minimum lot sizes, others don't. When we reviewed the code in 2019, we realized there wasn't a minimum lot size for gas stations. In reviewing the half an acre is really looking at what we have for existing gas stations in the city. We have 11 gas stations with an average size of 0.9 acres. And understanding that gas stations generate a lot of traffic, putting that minimum lot size in there was important for really to make sure that when a proposal came forward that we were working with lots that could handle the traffic generation and those uses.
So I'm curious, did you look at other local municipalities, what their code says for as a reference point?
I did not, but I am aware of other municipalities that have minimum lot sizes.
I would think that most of them would. I was just curious what the other municipalities were doing for their gas stations, but we don't know that.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
no.
thank you.
Alderman Steiner.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering if Assistant Director Schmidt could maybe just briefly cover some of the concerns that we discussed during the Planning Commission in regards to this specific gas station, and then also, not just from the standpoint of congestion, but also in regards to the liquor store that's nearby, that the proximity could kind of back end into the restrictions that we recently passed in regards to beer and gas stations.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll just kind of start off with a little background. This property is Zone C1, which is our general commercial district. In the general commercial district, gasoline stations are listed as a special use. So each district has either permitted uses by right or special uses which require this higher level review. With gasoline stations, they do require the minimum half acre, as was said earlier. This particular property is 0.29 acres, so considerably smaller than what is typically required for a gas station. I would argue that the applicant acknowledges that the site is too small, so the site plan that was submitted does include a cross-access between the property to the south, which the property owner does own. So looking at this site on its own, there is no way that a gas station can function with getting fuel trucks in and out by operating directly on this site. So they have to use already the property to the south. There is an opportunity for the property owner to combine the two properties, to have it as one parcel, which would meet the minimum lot size. In fact, it would be 0.72 acres. So there is opportunity to do that. So in talking with the liquor license, if they were to combine the two lots, obviously now the liquor store couldn't sell liquor. It can only sell beer per the most recently updated ordinance. So it seems as if from a zoning standpoint, they want to treat it as one lot, but from a liquor license, two separate lots. So, and at least in our view, kind of circumventing that recently updated ordinance. And again, in looking at these special use permits from a staff perspective, you know, that minimum lot size is the minimum lot size. We can't vary that. Council does have some opportunities to do that, which we would highly recommend not doing. Again, because there is opportunity to combine those two lots to meet the minimum lot size.
Thank you.
Alderman Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. No questions for you, just a couple of comments that when I look at this, one issue that I don't believe that we take into consideration is what a price might be. That is not the role of the city council nor the mayor. People charge what they charge, and then people will go and frequent where they choose to frequent, so that is truly not the point. My concern, to be quite honest, is because once we allow that door to open, which our department heads have said, here's the now and the why and the what of why we either do it or we don't do it, you create a Pandora's box. And over 40 years at various times sitting in these chambers, I have seen it go up, down, and sideways. Today it's one thing, tomorrow it may be something else. The issue that comes in is if we say yes to this tonight, then where do we say no? What legitimate reason do we have to say no? We get paid the big bucks here, folks, to make those decisions. I know, my snarkiness is coming out. And the same is true with other ordinances. And I know that it does hurt for some that are coming to present to us, well-intended for what you want to do, but without the rules, unless there was a change that validated through the departments that we make those changes, those emissions, the only favor we're doing is to the person that is looking to make the change, but not to the community. And that's an important factor because neighborhoods, land lots, everything changes from time to time. We have a plethora of parcels on North Commercial Street that are looking for home businesses. That could be the thing. But in a situation like this, it clearly does not meet the needs. And respectful to Emma, I'm sorry, I could not support this. The only time that I would go that manner is if we decided that the ordinance didn't count anymore, and then it's a free-for-all. And I don't think that's in anybody's best interest. Thank you, Mayor.
Is there further discussion on this item? Alderman Steiner.
I just want to clarify, because it is worded oddly, if I understand this correctly. A yes vote would move the special use permit forward. A no vote denies the special use permit, just so everyone's clear.
Yep, that's
I know
correct.
it's worded oddly, that you would think it'd be the reverse, but
The motion that is on the floor is a motion in the affirmative, so the motion that's on the floor is to approve the special use permit.
correct, right. So
If
a
you
no
vote
is to
yes-
not approve the special use permit. A yes is to approve the
That's
special
not
use
what
permit.
we're going off of. We changed the motion. Okay, just to clarify that again. The motion that is on the floor is not the motion that is in print because we wanted to have a motion be in the affirmative. So the motion on the floor is to approve the special use permit. If you're voting yes, you are voting to approve it. If you're voting no, you are voting to deny it. Everybody clear on that? Alderman Lendrum.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Deputy Director Schmidt about, you had mentioned, I was in the audience at Plan Commission, and you had mentioned concern because the lot was so small that it's possible that the waiting traffic to get gas could actually back up into the public roadways and cause an impediment for passing traffic.
Again, gas stations generate higher traffic, especially more traffic than what the current use is, which is an auto service station. Using generally accepted traffic generation modeling, it could generate up to 1,300 vehicles a day. I'm not saying that that will happen, but clearly way more than what's currently there. So with one driveway really coming into the site, that, you know, if there is backup or there's cars that can't maneuver, that traffic can back up on the Langley and, you know, potentially cause traffic issues. So that was another concern with the site.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Is everyone clear on the motion on the floor? Then please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion fails 8-0, which means the special use permit is denied. The next item, excuse me, on the agenda is the public forum. This is the opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on an item that they want to present before the council. If you would like to speak during the public forum, please come forward, give your name and residential address, and you are allowed to speak for 5 minutes on any topic. Is there anyone here who would like to speak during the public forum? Anyone here who would like to speak during the public forum?
Good evening. My name is Rich Wangard. I live at 134 Alexander Drive. I'm probably sick of seeing me. I've been before you several times. And last time I had a speech prepared that I issued out to all of you. Then I gave it. I don't know where it stands right now about these sidewalks on Alexander Drive. I know it's in the budget. I've tried to present to you all my requests from myself and my neighbors about how we do not want sidewalks there. I've given you the reasons we do not want sidewalks. I don't know what else to really tell you folks other than there are no children playing in the street. There's a park right next to my house. My wife and I have spent 20 years on our yard. There was nothing in it. Now it's a show place. And for me, myself, and my wife, well, if you put in sidewalks, you're going to completely tear up my yard and all my gardens. And I laid the paves, and my wife did the work. She's a master gardener. We tried to beautify Neenah, and now you want to come through with sidewalks and rip it all out. I can't speak for my neighbors. My neighbors don't want sidewalks either. The front yards are small. You put sidewalks in, you're going to have people walking within 10 feet of bedroom windows and picture windows. I asked all of you, would you like this in your homes? All of us have everything we have poured into our homes. We're not rich people. A lot of us are retired folks. We got nowhere to go. So if you come in and wreck our yards, we're just going to have to take it. Again, I ask all of you, would you like this in your property at your home? I can only tell you this. I can't speak for my neighbors, but I can speak for myself. I'm a peaceful man. I don't want trouble. There's a song. It goes, stand my ground, don't back down. I had to do that for 4 years of my life from 18 to 21. It wasn't pleasant. It was pure hell. I did it because I loved my country. I loved the place where I live. I love my neighbors. I'm a good man. But I'm here to tell you, I won't back down. Not on this. Thank you.
Hello, Adam Paulman, live at 130 Alexander Drive. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I've lived there for nearly 18 years, and I'm asking respectfully that the proposed sidewalks for Alexander Drive be removed from the 2025 budget. I've emailed most, if not all of you, adding comments in terms of how it distract from the charm of our neighborhood, destroy landscaping, as Rich said, that him and his wife have put in their yard for years, and we work to maintain. I've lived there for nearly 2 decades, never had an incident. I walk daily down our street, both ways, never an issue with cars. I believe the safety and suitability of the current setup works for Alexander Drive being a 1-block road. Instead of sidewalks, why don't we consider adding a bike or walk lane painted on the road? I believe it's more cost effective, but due to the width of Alexander Drive, could pretty easily be done since there is essentially 3 lanes there currently. Thanks for your time. I urge you to consider the alternative, preserve the aesthetic and the practical quality of your neighborhood while promoting the safety and cost. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Fowler, and I live at 118 Alexander Drive. I'm actually speaking on behalf of another neighbor who couldn't be here this evening as well. Her name is Lois, and her husband's name is Joe Dunn. They live at 125 Alexander Drive. She states, as you are hearing and have heard by concerned emails you've received, we have posed the 2025 budget proposal to install sidewalks on our street. There is no doubt that our street is in need of repair, as Band-Aids have been applied for years, but sidewalks on our single-block-long street is not a necessity nor a reasonable taxpayer expense for many reasons. Our street has approximately 6 school-aged children living on it. We have no public transportation stops on our street that would warrant a sidewalk for users to wait. While we do see some foot traffic on the street, pedestrians are always at the curb side of the road. We walk our dogs almost daily and have never been in danger of traffic. A large population of people using the street are runners, as well as former runner. Sidewalks are not preferred. Oh, as a former runner, sidewalks are not preferred, sorry. The amount of money proposed to be spent on the sidewalks could be easily reduced to a more reasonable amount and factor in the safety element by implementing either of these 2 installations. The first would be to install a speed bump, much like the ones controlling the significantly heavier traffic on Marathon Avenue, to reduce the speed on that street. The second alternative is creating a bike walk lane, as Adam mentioned earlier, on one side of the street, restricting parking on that side. The street is wide enough to accommodate, and the cost is minimal. In addition, the city plows have the streets cleaned, salted in winter much more consistently than an individual property owners. Thank you for your time, and I hope your vote is cast on careful consideration of what is expressed here tonight by the people of Alexander Drive. And for my purposes, I'd like to say that if a sidewalk is installed, there's a lot of people who we can't park on our street. I think it's, the side streets are restricted like every other day or something like that. But anyway, if we were to have a sidewalk, many of us who park in our driveways would be parking over our sidewalks because our sidewalks would be so close to our homes. So that's one of the reasons why I would not like to see a sidewalk on our street. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public forum?
Hello again. Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Linda Garvey, 105 Alexander Drive. I'm here for the third time to speak out against sidewalks on Alexander Drive. Our homes are oddly close to the streets, so yes, sidewalks would be very close to our front windows. Also, we're getting to an age of new hips and knees, so maintaining sidewalks would not be in our favor. We bought our home 12 years ago hoping it would be the home that we retire in. We specifically looked for a ranch, and we're joyed to find one without a sidewalk. So putting sidewalks in a neighborhood that's been around for over 40 years just seems really odd to me. So I would like to request that you put the $190,000 into other infrastructure projects or to safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public forum? Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will close the public forum and go on to Mayor Council consideration of public forum issues. Is there anyone on council who would like to speak regarding anything that was brought up? Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to offer my house as an example. I've got a sidewalk in front of my house. I have a close setback. It's 21.22 feet, which I think is quite a bit closer than anybody on Alexander Drive. So if you want to see what that looks like, I invited a couple people. I emailed Adam and Cheryl and Will and invited them and anybody that wants to see what 21 feet from my bedroom and my living room window. That was a lot of information I just offered out to the public. But anyway, that's the reality. That's what it is, my living room, my bedroom, and it's 21 feet from the edge of the sidewalk. So, can I finish? What if it was 10 feet? I know.
Sir,
can I finish?
please. Let
me
the
finish.
alderman
Okay.
finish speaking.
So my invitation to you is to come to my house, 419 11th Street, and see what that looks like, and see what 21 feet looks like from your, I'll even invite you in, and you can see it from my living room window. So that's just an invitation out there. And if, I just broke my leg, and I tell you what, I don't know what I would have done had I not had the sidewalks around the block, because that was part of my rehab, and they're even, the streets are not even. They would be way too scary for me to have rehabbed anything. And I was really grateful that I had decent sidewalks to do that. And that's just my invitation for you all. Thank you.
Alderman Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. Folks, I don't know how this vote will go tonight, but I want to share with you that the decision to put in, to not put in, isn't an easy one. I have had the honor, on and off, since the early 80s to sit in these seats, and I have heard virtually from every block in the city, please don't put a sidewalk in my neighborhood for a myriad of reasons, great examples that you yourselves did bring up tonight. But what the council needs to do, and what we have done in the past, is we don't legislate just by today's standard. There were times when there were children in Alexander. 4 of my best friends used to live there 40 years ago. And I do recall the children playing in the street, and there wasn't a lot of traffic. You're right, absolutely not. And I have heard from constituents within my own district over in the 1st that please don't put a sidewalk here, please don't put a sidewalk there. If we did that and abolished any type of system that we use, as imperfect as it may seem to be, Neenah could be known as the city without sidewalks. And from a safety standpoint versus a beautification standpoint, I will always vote for safety. And I just wanted to share that with you tonight, that if there's going to be an exception tonight, my recommendation down the road then would be that once again, we review what our circumstances are for putting in sidewalks. Because just as we did just a few moments ago, if you start to shift for one, where do you stop? All right, it's not pleasant for you that you'd be losing some land, most of that, which is the city property, always has been, but you have taken care of it, you've landscaped it. Nobody wants to shovel snow, unless your name is Jim Webb and you got a sale on your Kruger True Value snow throwers. Nobody wants to. Somebody's going to break a leg. Somebody's going to have children someday in a carriage. Sometime it may be you in the wheelchair. And the sidewalk will not be the best place, will be the best place for you to be, and not out in the road. So I just wanted to share that regardless of how this vote comes tonight, plus or minus, you need to understand we take your concerns seriously. We've heard them before. We will hear them again. And we will try to do what's in the best interest of everybody, not just for today, but for tomorrow. Thank you, Mayor.
Council President Borchert.
Thank you, Mayor. I've spent a lot of time driving up and down on Alexander Drive, and I'm a big firm believer in not one size fits all. And when you hear constituents share their stories and express their concerns, obviously you want to listen to those. I can understand if there were situations where there were accidents or there were car pileups or there were issues that. We have a lot of other things that we can be using that money for on new subdivisions, putting in sidewalks. I like to look at the issues one at a time. I know we have a system in place and maybe that's an opportunity to look at that. But I will support removing the sidewalks from Alexander Drive on this amendment. Like I said, logically it just makes sense for me given where you were and the time and effort not the time and effort, I should say, the time that it has not had sidewalks and the people that live there, so.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Kaiser, the cost of this sidewalk, I heard the number 190,000, but I believe that's not accurate.
Yeah, the budget request is 65,000.
Okay, thank you. I'll comment more on this when we get to that budget.
Alderman Steiner.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Council President Borchert. That's why I proposed the amendment to remove the sidewalks. I'm not against sidewalks, but I think it's not necessarily just this universal put sidewalks anywhere there's not currently sidewalks. I do agree with the constituents that spoke earlier. I think that the yards would end up so that the sidewalks are extremely close to their homes. I think it's extremely disruptive just in terms of the work that they've done on on their various properties. And then I think having walked down that street many times, I just don't see this as a priority when I look at the grand scope of things of the overall city, and would prefer to have that 65,000 utilized elsewhere. Thank you.
Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you again, Mayor. To the neighbor who is concerned that it might be 10 feet from your house, if you call me, I'll walk you through the GIS map and show you the exact plotting of.
Take you up and down Alexander, ma'am.
Either one. Yep.
On every single house and show you how far the sidewalk would be from the bedroom windows.
Happy to do it too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in consideration of this issue? Moving on then to the next item on the agenda, the consent agenda. There are several items on that. Approve the change of agent application to Walgreens. Number 03392 South Commercial Street, Neenah, Wisconsin, to Adriana Freihoff. Second is receive and place on file the police department's third quarter report. Next item, approve the final plat for the fourth addition to the Homes at Freedom Meadows subdivision. And final item is approve the preliminary plat for the second addition to Freedom Acre subdivision subject to the conditions of the preliminary plat review letter. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of those items? Seeing none, those items are approved. Moving on to the reports of our standing committees. The regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of November 12th. Chairman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out tonight from the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of November 12th, 2024. Minutes can be found on the city website. We have just one item tonight, and committee recommends council approve the police department to use the remaining capital funds of $150,360 from the police department building expansion, the remaining capital funds from the vehicle barriers, and the $7,600 from the capital facility fund balance to build a 40 by 60 storage shed to house larger vehicles and equipment at an estimated cost of $218,000, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lendrum, seconded by Alderman Weber. Is there any discussion on this item?
And the chief is here tonight if there are any questions.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 8-0.
And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. The next item is the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of November 11th. Would you like to report on that, or since
Sure.
Okay.
Reporting out from the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of November 11th. Item number 1, the committee recommends council approve ordinance 2024-24, annexing 20.9 acres of land located west of Wooden Shoe Road and south of Liberty Avenue. This is an action item and is under the Plan Commission. Item number 2, the committee recommends council approve the 4th addition to the homes at Freedom Meadows Subdivision Development and Fee Agreement. Action on this item is under the Board of Public Works. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is the Neenah Menasha Joint Fire Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of October 22nd. Council President Borchert will be reporting on that.
Thank you, Mayor. If you want to check, the minutes can be found on the website. The committee recommends both the City of Neenah and City of Menasha Common Councils approve Neenah Menasha Fire and Rescue's 2025 budget as presented and included both mayor's reductions. And I so move.
There's a motion by Council President Borchert, seconded by Alderman Ellis. Is there any discussion on this item? Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 8-0.
Item number 2, there's in the print copy, we have the rescue at the 2024 budget versus the 2025. So as I read it, that's the amended. Committee recommends the City of Neenah Council approve Resolution 2025-16 to exceed the levy limit for Neenah Menasha Fire and Rescue's 2024 budget. And I so move.
Mayor, it should be Resolution 2024-16.
The resolution.
Yes.
And not
Sorry
to
about that.
exceed the 2025 budget.
That, I kind of psyched myself
For the
up on
2025 budget.
My bad.
Yes.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah. That would be weird. I apologize. I still move it, though.
Okay.
I still second it, though.
There's a motion by Council President Borchert, seconded by Alderman Ellis. Is there any discussion on this item? Alderman Paulno.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Rasmussen, can you explain exactly what this means when it says exceeding the levy limit? It's more of a, it's not something new. We've done this with the joint fire department. If you could
Sure,
explain.
thank you, Alderman Paul. No, it's Director Rasmussen, just so you know. Okay. And with that, every year, because we have a joint fire department, we are able to exceed the levy limits, but they have to stay within a percentage increase year over year on their overall budget that we share with Menasha. And what that formula is taking whatever our CPI that the state of Wisconsin certifies is your inflation rate plus 2%. So they could only increase their budget by 5.2%, which they stayed within. So both Menasha and Neenah could exceed the levy limit. And we are able to take $381,750 of exceeding levy.
Thank you. And this is a fairly normal action that we take from the council, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 8-0. The next item on the agenda, reports of special committees, the regular Plan Commission meeting of November 12th. Alderman Steiner.
Thank you, Mayor. The commission recommends council approve the annexation number 236, ordinance 2024-24, and the property also receive an R1 single-family residence district zoning classification, and I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Steiner, seconded by Alderman Weber. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 8-0. The next item on the agenda is the Board of Public Works meeting of November 14th. Vice Chairman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes from this meeting can be found on the city website. This evening, we have one council action item, no informational items, which the council should be happy with. And so that item is, the board recommends council approve the development and fee agreement for the fourth edition, the Homes of Freedom Meadows subdivision, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Is there any discussion on this item? Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 8-0.
And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you for your report. The next item, reports on neighborhood groups, the Business Improvement District Board. Alderman Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. Our group met today. The minutes can be found on our website. We have approved our operational budget. It will be coming to the council the first week in December. So that's gone through both FNI and the bid group. Many good things are coming. We're going to have a new light show. Come see it. Be very interesting. We have 7 cameras that present, and they've done some testing at night. It should be very exciting for the Neenah merchants. The last thing we want to bring to the attention are our dates to remember. December 6th, we have our very Merry Christmas downtown. On the 12th, we have the Luminary Night with the cookie crawl. And then on the 14th, we have the Saturday open house for gift center purchases, regular buys from 10 until 2. And we will not have another report for this year, so we're good. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your report. And unfortunately, the cookie crawl already sold out in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. But that doesn't mean that you can't come downtown and enjoy the luminaries that are downtown. And you could bring your own cookies, I guess.
Absolutely.
The next item is the Neenah Arts Council. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the Neenah Arts Council meeting of Thursday, November 14th. I have 2 items I'd like to highlight. The first is the Neenah Arts Council received a Creative Community Champion Award at the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Annual Conference on October 24th in Middleton. The award is given to civic champions of the arts and creativity, individual organizations, businesses, and local government agencies. And we were one of 14 communities in the state to receive this award. So I'd like to congratulate the Neenah Arts Council and our very active membership that participates in the Arts Council. That being said, we will be at the Very Neenah Christmas in the Alta building. So I just wanted to highlight that the hours for our Very Neenah Christmas this year have changed. Yes. They will be extended from 5 to 8, which is an extra hour. So if you know people, the idea is that maybe we could spread out some of the type of visitors because it's a very, very popular event. So please stop in and visit us. There will be, we will be making ornaments and a takeaway for individuals, and that concludes my report.
Thank you for your report, and again, congratulations on that well-deserved award, and thank you for your leadership on the Arts Council.
You know, it's been a pleasure, and we have such a great group of people who participate on the Arts Council, and I think who really, truly enjoy it, so that's good.
Thank you. And just to clarify that the Very Neenah Christmas starts at 5, but the live mannequins do not start until 6 because I don't think anybody can stand in place for more than 2 hours.
Right.
So, but 5 o'clock, all the other events begin. Next on the agenda, the Landmarks Commission, Alderman Weber.
Thank you, Mayor. The Landmarks Commission met on November 13th. Minutes can be found on the city website. The main topic of discussion was around our plan and our timeline for reviewing and revising the residential landmark brochure and then any associated other collateral that we want to redesign, including taking additional photography and other historic sites in the city. So more information to come on that from future meetings. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for your report. Are there any petitions? Are there any council directives? Is there any unfinished business? New business, the Arrowhead Park Development Status Report. Anything to report, Alderman Hillstrom?
Nothing new to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other announcements or questions that could come before the council? Seeing none, that will conclude our regular council meeting for this evening, and we will move on to the 2025 budget public hearing. Before I open up the public hearing, I'd just like to make a few comments regarding the budget. This was a challenging year. Every year is challenging as we're faced with difficulties in balancing our budget. This year, one of our biggest challenges was the rising cost of health insurance for our employees and the cost that the city incurred in order to provide that insurance. We had been locked in a 3-year plan with no rate increases, which made it really difficult. When that ended, we had to kind of play catch up. So the increase in our costs was approximately 28%, which translated into a $1.1 million increase for the city, which we had to work really hard to overcome, and we did. But we also had requests from our department heads that really far exceeded our ability to meet them. And as much as we would like to fulfill every request that our department heads bring forward, we are not able to do that. Teamwork is what solved our budget issues this year. We worked really hard, and I give a lot of credit to Director Rasmussen for this approach. Director Rasmussen and I meet one-on-one with each of the departments, but then we also now come together as a full group to get a better understanding of the big picture. And that big picture, as everyone started to understand it, led to a lot of additional reductions and a balanced budget. So we're very proud of how that all came to be. It took a lot of hard work and a lot of willingness to work together. And I'm just really proud of our department heads, really proud of our finance department, and particularly Director Rasmussen and Deputy Director Call for all of their hard work. The proposed budget that resulted from all of this hard work reflects an overall increase of 2.4%. And that budget proposal before you tonight translates into a 16-cent per thousand of property value increase over last year. So an increase of $44 on an average price home in Neenah, that average being $275,000. If you had a $275,000 home, our budget to cover operating expenses this year would increase your taxes by $44 for the entire year. So the priorities that we really wanted to emphasize, first and foremost, maintaining our excellent level of services to our residents. Continuing also to invest in public safety in our great city. Continuing to invest in our infrastructure to maintain and grow our community forward. Compensating our employees, our existing employees, at appropriate levels to encourage retention of those employees, because we all know the high cost of losing an employee. We also want to be appropriately compensating our employees so that we can recruit new employees as employees retire. Our goal is to move our city forward, making sure that what we do as a city in every aspect, whether it's planning, innovating, interacting with citizens, serving our citizens, we want everything that we do to be exceptional and not merely acceptable. We are continuing to operationalize our city's core values. Those are pursue growth, encourage innovation, cultivate collaborative relationships, and engage with our community as we continue to work towards our shared vision and our mission statement, which is we strengthen our community by building on the past, owning the present, and stewarding the future together. All of that being said, we have been faced with an additional issue to resolve tonight as it relates to our transportation assessment replacement fee and how that impacts our budget for 2025. I'll read a statement that includes our recommendation relative to this issue, and when we get to the amendment portion of the discussion tonight, we can provide additional information and reiterate what was already provided at the budget workshops last week. But I will read this statement now. If you've seen this in the news, you'll maybe have a better understanding of it after tonight. In 2018, after many months of discussion and vetting, the Neenah Common Council voted to create the Transportation Assessment Replacement Fee as a more equitable and effective process to manage the high cost of street repair to our residents. The thought behind the process was simple. Everyone uses our roads. Under the leadership of former Mayor Dean Coffert, equally sharing in the cost of street repair became the goal. The TARF equitably spread a portion of the cost of street repair to all residents, eliminating the special assessment process, which had been in place for many years. Prior to the TARF going into effect, a resident could be assessed thousands of dollars for the street repair adjacent to their home. Businesses were also assessed thousands. The establishment of the TARF allowed the city to equitably spread the burden across all residents. For instance, if a homeowner were to be assessed for their street work, as it occurred prior to 2018, that homeowner would be faced with an assessment in the thousands. With the TARF, all residents were now sharing in the cost, with a fee of $23 a year. This number increased to $40 a year in 2023 due to the significant increase in road repair that had accompanied the high inflation rates following the COVID pandemic, and that $23 rate had been in place for 5 years. For a business, the highest rate of the TARF would be set at $3,600, depending on the size of the business's footprint. This rate had also increased from $2,000 at the inception of the TARF in 2018 due to inflation. A business would now, at the maximum, be paying $3,600 a year versus the assessment of potentially well over $100,000 a year for road repair. Again, the TARF that was established in 2018 by vote of the City Council seemed to be the most equitable way to pay for the high cost of road repair. In October of this year, the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce Committee sent to the city of Neenah a notice of suit indicating that they would take legal action to force the city to remove the TARF, as they had recently done in 2 other municipalities in Wisconsin who were using methods similar to ours, but not identical. At this time, it is the recommendation of leadership at the city to remove the TARF from our budget plan for 2025 in order to determine alternate ways of equitably funding for road repair in the city. The fact that the TARF has been in place instead of special assessments on our residents and businesses since 2018 makes it difficult for leadership to make a quick decision on the next steps we will undertake. We will use the next months to investigate what options we have. In essence, the WMC has forced the city of Neenah to adjust our budget in order to complete the final budget adoption tonight. And as we get to the portion of the budget tonight that includes amendments, our Director of Finance, Director Rasmussen, will be able to explain a little bit further about what our temporary proposal is for 2025. But again, we will be faced with trying to solve this problem for the long term as well. So the public hearing is now open. If anyone would like to speak during the public hearing on the proposed 2025 operating budget and 2025 capital improvements program budget, now is your opportunity to speak. Would anyone like to speak? I appreciate that you've already shared your feelings on Alexander Drive, so thank you for that. Anyone else?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How much is it proposed, how much money is proposed for the sidewalk project on Alexander Drive?
$65,000.
You really think that's all it's gonna take?
That is the proposal.
You know how much a yard of concrete is?
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public hearing on the budget? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing on the budget and move on to discussion and consideration of the public hearing and other matters related to the recommended 2025 operating budget and 2025 capital improvement program budget. The motion on the floor is consideration of Resolution 2024-21, adopting the 2025 operating budget and capital improvements budget. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion by Council President Borchert and seconded by Alderman Ellis. To this point, I will turn it over to Council President Borchert to conduct the discussion relative to the committee of the whole that took place and to the amendments that had already been proposed.
Thank you, Mayor. What we're going to do is I will move each amendment to the floor. I'll ask council for a second. Once that's done, I'll direct or ask Director Rasmussen if she could be able to explain a little bit of the impact each will have, and then we'll open it up for any comments or questions from the aldermen. All right? So, amendment number 1, operating budget, increase alderman pay by 5%. In 2025, this will affect 3 alderman seats up for re-election in April. This will increase salaries, expenditures, and increase the amount of undersigned general fund balance applied by $620. See pages 40 and 60. And I so move.
Second.
Okay. I'm going to have Clerk Nagel put up a sheet that I will end up putting in the adopted budget book, so it should be in front of you all on your screens and up here for the audience. So for this first amendment, what that would do is it'll be $620. And if you go across on that number 1, it shows that I am going to, we're going to propose to take it from the general fund reserves because we took the max levy we could take. So there's no levy room for operational to use. And it would also affect our expenditure restraint program by $620. And we're still well within what we need to be.
All right. Thank you, Director Rasmussen. Any comments or questions on this amendment? Alderman Paul now, and then Alderman
Thank
Steiner.
you. Yeah, I brought this amendment forward. I just think it's equitable and fair. You know, Alderman and Neenah is woefully low, I should say, in the valley. I think we're way lower in pay. So I think a periodic, in my opinion, every 3 years would be plenty. The last time there was a raise for aldermen, just to put it in context, take-home pay for an alderman is like $420 right now. And so you can do the math, how many hours. We probably average 15, 20 hours with reading and talking to constituents. I mean, that's, you know, on average, I would say that's what it is. So I think just periodically there should be a reflection of that. It doesn't have to be exorbitant, but I think it's fair. That's why I brought this forward. Thank you.
Alderman Steiner?
I'm in favor of this, but I think it's important just to emphasize that if it passes, aldermen on currently sitting do not automatically get it. You actually have to be reelected in order to get the pay raise. So as the voters, everyone's able to vote and evaluate whether or not they're comfortable with that. So that's the process, just so you're aware that it doesn't go into effect until the person is actually voted back into office.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you. I'm going to be voting against this, and I'm not running for re-election, so it doesn't really affect me. But the 5% is more than what we're giving anybody else here at City Hall. And I just can't do that. So, I mean, if it was changed to 2% for 2 or 3 years or whatever, I could agree with that, but I won't vote for 5% this evening.
Alderman Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too am going to be voting against this, just from the standpoint of the economy, regardless, hasn't been our friend as of late. And though this amount into itself is not a lot, all right, it still does make a representation. And I, for one, when I come to these meetings, it's not for that reason. It's to serve the community. So I don't think this is the time for us to receive that. So I would be voting no. Thank you.
Alderman Lundrum, excuse me.
Thank you. I also will be voting against this. I don't think I've ever voted for a raise. I may have, but since 2011, it's not why I'm here. So thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the First Amendment to? Okay. Seeing none, please cast your votes. Are we voting? We have it all. All right, thanks, Shar.
I did it. And
No, I'm not voting.
The suspense is killing me. Is it really tight?
It's a tie.
Oh, I'm absent.
Look like you're here.
The computer went on strike.
It automatically kicks in if it's probably a tie.
Oh, great.
I have to put you here. Poor Jane.
Well, there we go.
Motion does not pass. The amendment does not pass. All right. Moving on to number 2, the Second Amendment.
Sorry, that's what happens when one alderman is missing and we have an even number of aldermen. That's the only time I can vote, is in case of a tie.
Now you know how the system works.
it's probably the first time.
Yeah,
right.
that is the first time I voted as mayor.
All right. Amendment number 2, delay construction of Berkshire Road, CTHG through Breezewood from 2025 to 2026. This will decrease capital expenditures, capital borrowing in the Public Infrastructure Fund by $1,350,000. See page 64, and I so move.
Second.
Director Rasmussen, impact or?
So the impact of this would be that we would not have that in our borrowing for the CIP when we go forward in April for that. It does not affect any tax rate for this year's budget because it would be a future borrowing in '25.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or remarks? Alderman Paul now. Whoops, sorry. Go ahead. Alderman Lundrum, sorry, I didn't see. I'll wait, and then Alderman Paul now next.
All right, he can go first if he wants to, but I'll be voting against this amendment. It seems as if we are, I hate this expression more than anything, but I can't think of another one, kicking the can down the road, and we're just stacking more projects for the next year. And it just makes every budget more difficult as years go on. Plus, I have a hard time believing that costs are not going to increase at who knows, XYZ percentage, but costs are not going to go down. So I won't be voting for this amendment. Thank you.
Alderman Paul now.
Thank you. Yeah, I during my research in the budget, I always, because what a budget is choices, so I always refer or discuss with department heads, and this is based on a discussion I had, because I was looking for ways, because we have currently, as it's currently structured, we have $19 million in borrowing. Last year we did 9. Which, put in context, City of Appleton's right around 11, 12 million. So we have a lot in our books. So I was looking for ways of, maybe defer it, because like in a business, if you don't have to have the expenditure this year, then you can defer it for later for cash flow. Well, as my discussion with Director Kaiser, he said there's probably a little flexibility on this one because the pace rating is not where, it's as concerning as some of the streets. And this would also give them a little more visibility on the traffic in that location. So he thought it was palatable to delay this. It's simply delay until next year. So that was my logic to push this off 1 year.
Alderman Ellis?
Thank you. For the reasons that Alderman Lundgren have detailed, I too will be voting against this. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments about amendment number 2? Okay. Seeing none, you can vote on your voting device.
Maybe.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 6-2. All right, moving on to number 3. Remove the installation of sidewalks for Alexander Drive, Bruce through commercial. This will decrease capital expenditures and capital borrowing in the public infrastructure by $65,000. See page 6, and I so move. Okay, any comments or questions about this? Director Aspen, any questions, or sorry?
Oh, no problem. This would do the exact same thing as removing Bergstrom Road. It would take $65,000 from our future borrowing in 2025.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you. This is the district that I represent, and I agree with the other 2 aldermen from our district that the sidewalks here are not necessary, particularly since if you park your car in the driveway, you're oftentimes going to be overlapping on the sidewalk, so it limits the opportunity to park on the driveway because of the setback of the homes in this area. I'm very familiar with this area. I voted against it several years ago, and I'm going to be voting against it again. It is not a safety issue in this particular area, and I think that's $65,000 that we can save.
Thank you, Alderman Erickson. Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you. First, I have a question for Director Kaiser about the distance the sidewalk would be from the homes. I mean, I've heard 10 feet, but I don't believe that's accurate.
Yeah, standard setback for this subdivision was 25 feet. Depending on where the builders actually put the homes, I think we're seeing like 22 feet from the property line is fairly common.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to be voting against this evening. You know, I've been on the council since 2007 with a couple of years off, but we've discussed sidewalks every year, and there's people against sidewalks every year. So we challenged the Public Works Department many years ago to come up with a criteria to say prioritize which sidewalks should go in. And, you know, this is on top of that criteria for one thing, because it's close to a major park in the city, close to a major arterial with where people work, where people go to restaurants, whatever. And, you know, walking in streets is always a safety hazard and a health hazard. So people with children, people that have disabilities, just elderly people, people with dogs is very dangerous. And, you know, it's the whole thing about the health issue. I had a lady come up to me, and I told the council this a couple months ago. We put sidewalks in on Plummer Court this year, and she lives on Plummer Court. And she told me, she came up to me at a concert downtown Neenah, and she goes, how wonderful the sidewalk is. She says, I never realized there were so many children living on our street. She says, they're out playing on the sidewalks, they're out learning how to ride bikes, they're riding scooters. And I've never seen so many neighbors out talking to each other, standing on the sidewalk, talking to somebody doing yard work or something. She said it's made a huge difference. And, you know, it's, I can't see us ever approving another sidewalk if we don't pass this tonight with the criteria number it has, with the construction going on this year. It makes sense to do it this year. And I don't know, you know, true, it's one block, but it's, you know, it makes a difference because where people travel from one place to another there, it's an important area. So I'll be voting no. And one other thing before we go. It was mentioned that there's 6 children living on the street. When we build a sidewalk, it's not just for the people living on that street, it's for people in the whole neighborhood using that street. The average median length somebody lives in a house in the United States is 13.2 years. We have more and more rental homes in our city. The average length of somebody staying there is 2 to 3 years. So it's constantly changing who lives there and how many children there are, what abilities they have or disabilities they have. So we can't just look at what it is tonight, the snapshot of what it is tonight. We have to look 20 years, 40 years, 60 years down the road. So thank you.
Right, Alderman Paul now.
Thank you. Well, I was off council for 6 years, and sidewalks, here we are again. It's always been quite a contentious discussion, and somebody just reminded me that I remember when we created the sidewalk criteria, I was kind of behind that a little bit, to say the least, because I always thought we should have some kind of parameters to really explain things, to why we're doing this. And I've been back on the council now for 6-7 months, and I don't know if we've had that discussion recently. And I don't know, another thing, have we sent this to people to explain? I mean, has people in the public been sent these notifications with these criteria? Because I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong. It's always troubling when we don't explain some of these things. I haven't seen it. I mean, I seen in Capitol there was a number by the sidewalk, but we haven't had a real discussion. And I remember when I was on council last time, it was 2015, 2016, we had that, and then that discussion kind of faded away because there was so much angst for sidewalks. Well, now it's being touted as that's the reason we do things, but we haven't had that discussion lately since I've been here, and I haven't seen actual explanation to overcome the people that live there. I guess I'm old school. I always defer to people that live there for safety of their children. I give that a lot of weight, and I give a lot of weight to people that live in the neighborhood. I don't think they're going to advocate something that makes their neighborhood less safe. I guess that's just how I was raised, so I definitely will be supporting this motion to remove these sidewalks, and that's the reason why.
Alderman Weber.
Thank you. Like Alderman Palmo said, the sidewalk topic is very controversial, and I haven't been on the council as long as Alderman Hillstrom, but I've been involved in a couple of controversial sidewalk discussions already. It seems like it's, you're emotional on one side or the other. I do think that each scenario has to be taken case by case, and I do think it's our job to listen to the constituents, and for that reason, I'm going to be voting in favor of removing this amendment and removing the sidewalks. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote on on capital budget item number 3, the removal of the installation of sidewalks on Alexander Drive. All right, motion passes 5-3. All right, moving on to capital improvement budget number 4. All right, let me make sure we've got everything. Remove purchase of the Citizen Request Management System, the CRM, from the Information Systems budget. This will decrease capital expenditure and capital borrowing in the Capital Equipment Fund by $15,000, and I so move. Director Rasmussen?
Again, this will do what the last two have done, and it will take $15,000 out of our future borrowings if it does indeed pass.
Thank you. Any questions or thoughts on the number 4, the Citizen Request Management System? Alderman Paul.
Thank you. Well, as Dr. Schrader had said, even when in our budget workshops, he said there was not exactly consensus to move forward with this. I get there's a lot of different ways to communicate currently, and to me, it's more of a budgetary. It's more of this seems more of a want versus a need, because you open a whole nother Pandora's box. I mean, there's people out there that I don't know if they would use this, to be honest with you. So I don't think it's really a need. So that's why I'll be supporting this motion.
Alderman Erickson.
Thank you. I propose this amendment to remove this because I feel that if any of our citizens have any questions or any concerns, there are multiple ways of reaching aldermen, the mayor, department heads. I don't think the $15,000 expenditure is worthwhile. I think if we need to save money, this is an opportunity to save money. And I did do some research on the Oshkosh website because that was cited as being a community that has this. And to be honest, in a quick overview of the Oshkosh website, I couldn't find out where to even do this. So I don't know why this would be necessary, because our website is very, very user-friendly, and if people have concerns, it's very easy to find out who to contact, and I think we don't need to spend $15,000 where we don't need to spend it. So that's why I removed it.
Alderman Borchard, that's me. Okay, so it's always weird when you have to put your own name on there. I'm gonna.
You gonna recognize yourself?
I recognize myself, and I've got all the time. I'm gonna actually vote against this. I think it's time to start reaching out to our constituents in different ways and finding ways for them to communicate with City Hall. That's never a bad thing. I know the concerns we have because that could possibly be overwhelming to a new way of technology or looking for maybe staff having to answer more calls. But that's kind of what we sign up for. And if we can be closer to our constituents and give more options to do so, I'm in favor of it. I would hope that we continue to look for opportunities to be more efficient and to find ways to kind of get into the new technology age, if you will, as a city of Neenah. So, any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, please indicate your vote on your voting device. Oh.
Seriously?
Jane, Mayor Lang, it's
Is this a Netflix issue?
Pixelation.
Tyson goes now.
All right. We vote yes to remove it, so from the capital, the CRM is removed.
That does not mean, however, that we won't be having this discussion again in April, so.
Yeah, and you can, Mayor Lang, if you want to have that conversation, because there's a few of these items, if you'd like to kind of explain what you meant.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot, though, but we talked about that. I just wanted to kind of.
Sure, yeah. Any of the capital items that we're proposing as amendments tonight will be reviewed again in April, and we don't do the borrowing for these items until September. So there are many opportunities to still look at our capital budget as we move forward. So just want everybody to be aware of that.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. On to number 5. Remove undesignated traffic signal upgrades. This would decrease the capital expenditure and capital borrowing in the Public Infrastructure Fund by $25,000. And see page 266.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, and just to explain this, it's kind of like a broken record here. This again would be coming out of the capital budget, so it would reduce the capital borrowing for 2025 by $25,000, and at this point for 2025, it would not affect our tax rate.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about this one? Alderman Paul now.
Thank you. I think we should put a footnote to this, that this is the James Merton amendment. He's no longer going to be here, or he's no longer here, so the workload, I think, is a little too much just for Jerry doing it all. So I'll definitely support this, as Director Kaiser has recommended this.
All right. Any other comments or questions about this amendment? Okay. Seeing none, please indicate your vote on your voting device. Clearly passes. Didn't have to worry about that one, Mayor. All right, moving on to number 6, Stormwater Utility Fund Budget. Obtain an updated stormwater utility plan. This will increase stormwater utility outside services expenditures and decrease stormwater utility fund balance by $100,000. See page 338, and I so move. Seconded by Alderman Ellis.
All right, for this, the stormwater utility is an enterprise fund, so it has user fees that support it, not tax dollars. So with this, we would be having a outside services professionals fee for this plan, and then that would come out of the fund balance that is part of the stormwater utility.
Thank you, Director Rasmussen. Alderman Palmer.
Thank you. Yeah, this is after my discussion with Director Kaiser, and currently our last stormwater plan that we had, the city had done is 2013. So that plan is 11 years old, and we had just recently reassessed, and in this budget we have a fee increase because we haven't had a fee increase since 2010, which is kind of a good thing, but we have not a structural deficit, but we have a deficit in that fund, and I think it all ties back to we really deserve to have an updated stormwater plan, to be more up to date with that, and then we can adequately move forward with where do we need ponds, where do we don't need ponds, because with all the new, well, not new, but the ongoing DNR regulations, I think it's just prudent to have something to fall back on when we're announcing to the citizens that we have a plan that we had discussed in committee, that we're going to do a fee increase on a steady basis to right-size the existing fund, because it's not really where we want it to be. So I think this is a prudent approach. Director Kaiser had this in 27, and I think we should do it in 25. That's why I brought this forward. Thank you.
Any further questions on amendment number 6? Seeing none, please indicate your vote on your voting device. Okay, amendment clearly passes. Moving on to our last amendment that's on our agenda. Debt service fund budget. Remove transportation assessment replacement fee and add an additional $825,000 to the debt service tax levy. This will have a net effect of nearly zero in the debt service fund. See page 245, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Alderman Lundgren.
I'd like to add an amendment to this per the Finance Department to add on stop charging for the current TARF effective October 31st, a little retroactive, but Director Rasmussen can explain that, 2024, I should say. And I just want to add, while I have the mic, that this gives staff not only funding for the next road plan, but the time to confer and implement a permanent replacement for TARF. So I just wanted to add that amendment on there.
And actually, you are the author of that amendment, so it is your prerogative to change that. So,
yep.
Am I right? Yeah, I just want to make sure.
But there's a motion and a second, so we have to, I guess, I don't know if they want to do a friendly amendment on the motion and a second.
That would be, I guess, to your motion in a second. So, yes, who had the second on that one?
Ellis, was it?
Concur?
Yes.
All right, seeing none, that would be added to with the date and Alderman Lundgren had said. Good. Any discussion on this?
Could I
Yeah.
talk about the?
Yes, you
Okay.
may.
All right. So what we're talking about again is removing the transportation assessment replacement fee after what Mayor Lang had discussed with everyone about the reasoning why. We came up with a plan through and that Carrie Lundgren brought forward that we would have a temporary fix for this year, and that temporary fix would be to replace that TARF fee with a debt service levy. So we would still need to collect the $825,000, but this would be, instead of assessing people, or instead of a different thought process, whether it's, what have you. I don't want to say all the, I don't know what everyone's thinking yet, but this would give us time to put that together. So if you look through this chart, the mayor proposed budget tax rate that we came to you tonight with before this amendment was for $44 for a $275,000 average home, or 16 cents per 1,000 of assessed value increase in tax rate. If you pass this amendment tonight to add $825,000 to the debt service tax levy in order to replace the TARF for 2025, it would add an additional $80 of tax for an average home of $275,000, which is an additional 29 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. So then the overall tax rate would go up by 45 cents per $1,000. So if you looked at the $275,000 home, the additional tax would be $124,000. But I'm sorry, I'm talking $124.
Don't scare anybody.
No, it'd be just $124. It was $45,000 per thousand. Right. The removal of the TARF would take $40 off of that, so the net effect on the taxpayer would be $84. So again, $44 would be for the operating budget that we already proposed to you, and the additional another $40 would replace the TARF, and then the remaining $40, which would equal the total increase, is actually a shift of the burden of that we are now basing it on value versus impervious surface that we were for the TARF. So it's a shift of where it goes to, and it goes more to the homeowners in the residential.
Thank you, Director Aston. I appreciate the explanation. Any comments or questions on this? Alderman Paul now.
Thank you. First, I had raised my hand. In regard to the friendly amendment, a process question. It's my understanding, I don't know if we'd be able to just put in that amendment we have that we stop charging TARF. I guess I'd ask Attorney Rashid, the TARF was created by ordinance. It's my understanding you can't just change an amendment in the budget. You would have to have an ordinance come forward to either suspend TARF or cancel TARF, correct? And you couldn't do it in the budget process.
No, that's not correct. We're not doing anything with the mechanism. It's still there until you repeal it, and that may happen. We don't know yet. But what we have intended to do as staff here and what Director Rasmussen has proposed is to zero it out, essentially. In other words, the mechanism still sits there, and it's still by ordinance. However, we're not going to collect any revenue through that mechanism for 2025, so as to give us time to determine what the more permanent solution is, if it's something different than TARF. So that was the thought process.
So in the original ordinance, it had said nothing about collecting fees? Because if it did, then we would have to change that ordinance. Is that correct?
The fee is zero. So
I guess I'm just thinking if the original ordinance says we're collecting a fee, when we have to at least have a resolution to change that.
We definitely will be coming forward with a resolution before the end of the year.
Well, and that's my point, because the friendly amendment said that October 31st we're not going to have fees. I'm just curious if the original ordinance had a fee mechanism, because that's what I recollect. So
the resolution will include both of those aspects. That's the intention. Because they are billed in arrears, that's why you have to do that. Because if you don't go back to October 31 of 24, then you're going to inadvertently start collecting, something that we propose that we not do.
Correct. And it was my understanding we'd have to do that by ordinance. You say we can do this by amendment in this budget? Because that's what the friendly amendment said, that we'll stop collecting a fee. I thought we had to do that action by ordinance.
We do not. We can do it by resolution.
A resolution, but we can't.
Which will be forthcoming after this vote. We can't do the resolution until you determine how much you are going to authorize for spending through this mechanism. The proposal is that you authorize nothing, zero. Doesn't mean that the mechanism goes away necessarily until we change the ordinance, if that's what we should choose to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Steiner.
Just a quick follow-up question in regards to, you mentioned that there is a higher shift to residential homeowners. That's because there's a decrease in regards to businesses. Is that accurate?
Sure.
Okay,
Just to
thanks.
give you a little background on that is, when we're basing it on values, now you have your tax exempt properties, your school districts, your churches, and so forth. So now they were at least paying TARF fee because it was on their water utility bill. We have a max right now for TARF for businesses of $3,600, which is I think 90 ERUs, right? and at $40. Now, a business, the break even for a business is $12.5 million of value. Well, the state values the manufacturing buildings, and a lot of times they're lower than that 12.5. So a business that we use as an example was at $7 million value. Well, they're going to pay about $2,000 now of taxes, where they were paying $3,600 in TARF to give us the same $825,000 we needed. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm fully supportive of doing this way. I just want to give a little history that I think really needs to be on the record, that the WMC legal action was in response to a court case. You know, we were informed over the last couple of years, there has been 2 court cases in the Supreme Court that had ruled, one, Town of Buchanan, which wasn't exactly like what we're doing, and then the Village of Pewaukee, the Supreme Court, and the Court of Appeals. And the last one, the Village of Pewaukee case, the Court of Appeals had basically ruled that the previous case applied. That's obviously debatable, but they decided not to even hear that, and the League of Municipalities has advised all municipalities to really, that they consider this now unlawful, and it's their recommendation for us to change this TARF, not to utilize that mechanism. That's why, kind of a back history as well, we are doing our due diligence. Before, I believe, we did our due diligence and dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's with TARF when it was really implemented, and now we're acting in a civic manner to do our due diligence now. The things aren't mutually exclusive. I just think it's important that people understand the back history and why we're doing things the way we're doing things. Thank you.
Alderman Ellis.
Thank you. Just to set the record straight, what the city did do back under Mayor Crawford is not the same as the other 2 communities, and I will defer to our city attorney in a moment. The city did, and then the residents need to know this. We didn't do anything illegal at that time. We're not doing anything illegal right now. It's a political game by a group of people out of this area, and all they're looking to do is chase ambulance. But what we did was not illegal. What we've been offering is not illegal. It is not apples to apples comparison, and we will be working, and then I'll be quiet because it's not my place to go any deeper. The issue of the TARF is not exactly over, because it's a great mechanism, it's a great tool, and there's some education that needs to go on outside of this area. And for the rest of that, I would defer to our city attorney. Thank you.
And not to disappoint, but I won't be going much further at all, because this is a legal matter, and it's something that is yet to be determined. And we will be discussing it in the appropriate places, probably in closed sessions at committee level, and then perhaps later at council. So I'm not going to get into any further as to what the city might do, should do, will do. That would be presumptuous and not prudent to be talking about it prematurely.
Thank you. Just a small comment. I just appreciate the effort that was put in reaction to the letter. The departments all having conversations. It's never easy when you have the budget that's upon you and the amount of work and time you put into it to get thrown a curveball like this. But just know that the staff at City Hall is putting a lot of effort into this to make sure that the citizens are not the ones that are going to be feeling this as much as what might happen because of the lawsuit. So anyway, just want to say thank you, because I know that this was not something you wanted to deal with at midnight before the budget is ready. So thanks for all your effort. Any further questions or comments on item number 7? Seeing none, please indicate your vote on your voting device. Okay, passes. At this point, any other amendments that are coming before the committee as a whole? Alderman Erickson.
We have to,
Oh, sorry.
okay, so that vote was to add the 800 and,
Yes.
so now you have to vote on the transportation, removal of the transportation assessment. So now you have to vote on the actual amendment.
Okay, so
there's
first
not.
off, hold on. So we're,
So,
Yep.
so there was an amendment to remove the transportation assessment fee, and then there was a friendly amendment to add So we voted on the friendly amendment to add. So now you have to.
That's right.
Right, I wasn't sure that we had to,
We're
That's
just voting
accurate.
on
You
it.
need to do both. You have to deal with Alderman, you have to deal with Alderman Lendrum's friendly amendment first, which is what you just did. Now you have to vote for the amendment as amended.
Together.
okay. Any questions? Hold that thought, Alderman Erickson. All right, and now we're moving back to the original amendment as spoken with the adjustment. So please indicate that on your voting device unless there's any comments or questions on that.
Alderman Erickson, did you have anything to comment?
No, this isn't, because I thought we were moving forward, so that's the new comment.
Okay, so here we go. Let's vote.
All right, clearly passes. All right, now, before we approve the budget, we're asking if there's any other amendments that want to come before the floor. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you. I would like to make an amendment on page 303 of our budget book. Carpenter Preserve Phase 1, $100,000. I move to remove this and defer it a year. That is for the wood path in Carpenter Preserve. The reason being is we, as a council, have not been presented an overall plan for Carpenter Preserve. I think for transparency reasons, I would like to see what is the plan. We approved a $30,000 study that never came before the council. It was presented to Park and Rec and then placed on file, and it is on the city website, and I reviewed it. We had Mr. Andrews come before the council several months ago, giving us his take on what should happen at Carpenter Preserve. But I think what would be best serving the council and the community is for Park and Rec to come before the city council and, like Arrowhead Park, tell us what the plan is, as opposed to getting something like this as part of a budget. I would like to hear what we plan to do this year, what we plan to do next year. This is based on the information that we received from the study and based from the community input. We have not received that information. And I think that would be very, very helpful to have that. So I would like to remove that. And I don't think it's pertinent, I don't think it's like a timely matter that we do that this year, but I'd like to have an overall concept before we approve this. And that's my motion to have
There's
that.
been a motion. Is there a second? Alderman Paul now, is that a second?
Yeah, I did second.
Sure. Okay. Any further discussion on this, Director Rasmussen, and capital improvements, or back to your?
Sure, this would be a capital improvement, so again, it would delay, it would decrease our borrowing for the GO capital borrowing for that $100,000. And it would not affect the current tax rate for 2025.
Thank you. Any further discussion about Alderman Erickson's motion to remove $100,000 from Carpenter Preserve, or remove it altogether?
I'd like to defer it to next year,
Defer to 2026.
so we
Okay.
would have more information before we would approve this.
And referring back to Mayor Lang's comment, this could also be brought back up during our discussion when we're about to borrow again. Correct. So it's not necessarily out of it, so voting against it, pulling it out, doesn't necessarily mean it'll be gone. It may give the opportunity for Park and Rec to come and visit. So, Alderman Paul now.
Thank you. And I was going to echo some of those comments. I think it's always good to have a sound discussion before you allocate. Like 25, I look at it, that is not more of a placeholder, more of an actual what you're telling you're going to do. And if we have a time, you can put it back in capital in April, that will allow people to come forward to give us a true concrete plan of what we spend the money for, because I think we need to be a good steward of the money and have it explained to us because I have no idea. I know I believe it went from 300 then to 100, so it's kind of good to get a handle on that before we approve it. Thank you, and so I'll be supporting this motion.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you. Director Kading, can you come forward and explain a little bit what the $100,000 is for next year?
2. The game plan for 25 is to move forward with vegetation management, specifically urban forestry. If you've been out to Carpenter Preserve, you'll notice a lot of dead trees. A lot of dead ash trees. Dead ash trees become a hazard to those who might want to be using the park, or the area, even if in its limited role that it is right now. We're also looking at an undergrowth of buckthorn and removing that. There's also an opportunity to start matching dollars and looking at bridge structures and pathway systems within the within the park itself or within Carpenter Preserve. The master plan is on the website. There was a public opportunity for folks to come, to entertain, to have discussions. Park Commission members may remember it was a little bit lively before it was adopted at the Park and Recreation Commission meeting. Alderman Hillstrom, did I help you out?
The bridges you mentioned, what's the value of that donation?
Currently, there is some fundraising efforts that have taken place. There's some funds being held at Fox Cities Greenways that'll ultimately become matching funds. We're working with that donor to make that a reality. You know, there's some give and take and time and effort that's going on with those efforts right now.
So bridges are valued around $70,000.
$70,000 to $100,000, correct.
I really don't want to lose by delaying this. So I won't be supporting this amendment.
Thank you. Alderman Steiner?
I actually had similar request as Alderman Hillstrom, just to understand, just as a follow-up question. So it sounds like this is part of the plan project, right? It's a phase 1. So effectively, by not receiving these dollars this year, we would push the project back. Is that accurate? Okay. I do not plan on supporting that, then I plan on keeping it.
Okay. Alderman Weber?
Yeah, I'd just like to also say, I think I appreciate Director Kading explaining the details behind this, and there have been a lot of opportunities to see what, the plan has been. I think it's a risk if we do push it for, to next year, so I won't be supporting removing this. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Erickson?
Even if this amendment fails, I would like the Park and Rec Department to come forward with a plan for the City Council so we understand what the plan is for this parks. I think that's important to do to keep us informed. I was confused when Mr. Andrews came and gave us a totally different concept than what was in the plan that was on the website. We did not get a report back from the Park and Rec Department after we approved the $30,000 study. I think it's important for transparency that we know this is what we'd like to do with this park. This is phase 1, this is phase 2, this is phase 3. I think it's important, instead of having us, kind of search around, which I've been trying to do to try to understand what your plan is, to come forward with an outline of what you would like to do. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Alderman Paul now.
One last question. Director Kading, is this in the Park and Rec 5-year plan? If so, where would that be at? So maybe that's a location.
The core plan covers the entire park and recreation system. That's kind of that umbrella approach. And then within that approach, we say, hey, Carpenter Preserve, we want to do something. We should do something. It's a valuable asset. And then underneath that, then you're going to find that Carpenter Preserve master plan that's been reviewed, adopted by the Park and Recreation Commission under their purview.
So is it similar to the comprehensive 2040 plan? It's 300 pages we put on a shelf and we don't read it, or is it more user-friendly?
Well, again, there's two different plans here. There's the CORP,
Yep.
which has to be on file with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources so that we can apply for state stewardship funding. That's a broader perspective approach. Yes, Carpenter Preserve is mentioned in the CORP, but there is a specific master plan for Carpenter Preserve, just like there's Edgewater Resources did a specific plan outlining how we should approach our shoreline issues at Kimberly Point and Doty Park. So there's a plan there, and then we start to phase those in. That's the same thing we're doing here at Carpenter Preserve. There's a master plan. We're now looking at that master plan and looking at how we can start to phase in and implement that over a period of time.
And that-
Alderman Ellis.
Separate, I want to be clear.
That's right. Alderman Ellis.
Thank you. Just quickly, Director, do you have any material, any plans that are sitting on your desk at any pages that are collecting dust that you're not looking at?
Okay.
My goal is to always put the corporate into action, okay? Now, when it comes to those corps, that's when we look at these specific action plans or master plans, just like we are doing with the shoreline. We're walking through that, and that's a tough one. And there's a lot of dollars there. And just like Carpenter Reserve, we're looking at those master planning and how can we start to implement that and make that a more usable site for our residents.
Thank you, Director Kading. Any further discussion on the motion to amend, remove $100,000 for Carpenter Preserve? Alderman Hillstrom.
Just a comment. I was on the committee that worked on the original plan for Carpenter Reserve back in 2003, and the things we were going to do there. And at the time, it didn't make sense to do it then because there were not many homes in that area. Now that area's been completely developed for many years. So those homeowners would like to see something done there. And we've been, for one reason or another, delaying it year after year after year. And I'd just love to get something going there. Well, former Mayor Carpenter's still alive since this has been named after her. So that's all.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, indicate your vote on the removal or the motion to amend, remove $100,000 from Carpenter Reserve. Okay. Motion does not pass. That would remain in the budget. Okay. Any further amendments? Okay. Seeing none. Yep. Go ahead, Director Asmussen. Thank you.
Did you put my sheet back? I just wanted Ben to go over the final numbers before you vote. And in the end, with the ones that all passed and those that did not pass, we are going to increase our total tax levy. So that would be the column that says total tax levy. And we are increasing it. It was originally at, we increased it by the $825,000 to 21.5 there. And then that actually changed our actual assessed tax rate to 7.0213, which is a 29-cent increase from our original proposed budget. So altogether, it is a 45-cent increase for the new budget. We are going to reduce our GO capital borrowing for 25 so far by the $1,555,000. And then the other item is we are going to reduce the stormwater utility fund by $100,000. And we remained for our general fund under our expenditure restraint program by $183,449. So we're in compliance there as well.
Okay. Thank you, Director Asmussen. Mayor Ling, I think it's to you now with the over budget, correct? Okay, real quick, just before, just want to say thank you to all the aldermen and the questions. I know each year it gets a little bit more interesting, and I think this year, again, I've been on council now for a few years, and I really appreciate the feedback that we're giving to our directors. I really feel that we're trying to be the best stewards we possibly can for our taxpayers. I know it's sometimes hard, sometimes when we get the money and taxpayers want to know where it's going to and how it is, but I do encourage people, and I appreciate the people that showed up and had their voice heard. And I also want to make sure that those at City Hall, especially Director Asmussen, for all the hard work you do. This is not an easy time, and so we value all the efforts you've been able to bring to this process. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I also appreciate Deputy Director Call. My right hand and my
Silent
left
one in the
hand
back.
there.
I always sorry.
He works a lot of hours for this too. Yeah, thank you. I do want to point out the reduced borrowing. It really is $1,455,000. She still had the $100,000 in there that did not pass. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. All right, Mayor Ling.
Thank you. So we are back to the original motion on the floor of adopting the 2025 operating budget and capital improvement budget with the amendments as we have already gone through. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 8-0. I have one final comment I'd like to make because this occurred today. We were I wanted to participate and invited our employees to a servant leadership seminar that the League of Wisconsin League of Municipalities was putting on, and it was good. But my takeaway was any one of the employees who attended that, and there were many, including many of our department heads, could have led the seminar. So I'm just incredibly thankful for all of them. So, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We are adjourned.
The Neenah Police Department is scheduled for an on-site assessment as part of a program to achieve accreditation by verifying it meets professional standards. Administered by the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group, WILIAG, the accreditation program requires agencies to comply with state-of-the-art standards in 4 basic areas: policy and procedures, administration, operations, and support services. As part of the on-site assessment, agency employees and members of the community are invited to offer comments by phone, 920-886-6029, on December 4th, 2024, between the hours of 1 and 3 p.m. Comments will be taken by the WILIAG assessment team assigned to conduct this assessment. Telephone comments are limited to 10 minutes and must address the agency's ability to comply with WILIAG standards. A copy of the standards is available at the Neenah Police Department. Local contact is Sergeant Robert Ross, 920-886-6000. Anyone wishing to submit written comments about the Neenah Police Department's ability to comply with the standards for accreditation may send them to the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group at the following address: WILIAG, Post Office Box 528, Heartland, Wisconsin 53029. The email address is executive.director@williag.info. The City of Neenah is pleased to provide video recordings of City Council meetings. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents from the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.